What's up, people? We are back with another video. The channel is called South African Late News, and the handle for this channel it is at KZN_ZE. Yeah, this is your case. It's on recess as Mnisi is still consulting. So today we'll talk about this character called Advocate Dominic Mjiako or Attorney Mjiako. I'm not sure if he's an advocate or just an attorney. Yeah, we were told that Bongani Ntanzi confessed and he did this in the presence of his lawyer. But Ntanzi denies this because he said he never appointed Mjiako as his lawyer. And I believe that Ntanzi is telling the truth. Firstly, the state failed to produce any written or verbal communication between Ntanzi and Dominic Mjiako. So there are no records of where Ntanzi actually appoints Mjiako or give him instructions to act on his behalf. So I believe Ntanzi. And then there are no records that Mjiako came to the cells or to prison to consult with Mjiako on the 23rd of June. Remember, the 23rd of June is a very important date in this case because the confession allegedly took place on the 24th of June. And we were told by Kenina that Mjiako consulted with Ntanzi on the 23rd, but there's no record of that. Because if you visit someone in prison or jail, you have to sign in and sign out. They could not find that. To me, it shows that this is a pure lie. But what can we say? But for now, I want us to look at the history of this Dominic Mjiako because it is quite interesting and scandalous, to say the least. Firstly, Mjiako is a former policeman in the SAPS, and he knows well of them. So he probably knows Gininda in his time when he was a police officer. That is a fact. Can't deny it, and it's a fact. And Mjiako was a member of the SAPS working in the legal support roles in the commercials and crime intelligence units between 2010 to 2016. And Gininda testified that when he was investigating the Senzomiwa case, he was part of the crime intelligence unit, but he has never met Mjiako before. I suspect Gininda was not being honest because if you work in the same unit in the police, somehow you've got to meet, you've got to know each other. So Gininda here, I think he was being economical with the truth as usual. But let's move on. Mjiako then became a lawyer after he left the SAPS in 2016. He worked smaller jobs, but he was focused on becoming an attorney. So he worked and moved his way up, and then finally was admitted. But then the police issued a statement. The statement was issued by Brigadier Atlan Dabat, who is currently the spokesperson for the SAPS. The police said that Mjiako resigned as a policeman, while a disciplinary proceeding had been initiated into allegations against him who was a suspect in a robbery case. Dominic Mjiako was dishonorably discharged from the Southern Police Services in 2016. At the time, he was a suspect in a robbery and a firearm case that may have been linked to truck hijacking. It is considered a dishonorable discharge because he was no longer a member of the SAPS when the outcome or the verdicts came out. So Mjiako, he realized that there's an evidence against me where they're saying that I've been involved in hijacking. So let me jump before I'm fired. So he was smart in that way. That is why they're saying he was dishonorably discharged. They can't say he was fired because he had gone already. So he moved out before he was kicked out. So for me, the shocking thing is that Mjiako was a suspect in a robbery case. This says something about his character. So his integrity is questionable for me. An innocent man would not resign if he's facing allegations of corruption or hijacking and so on. If Mjiako was innocent, he would have subjected himself into a disciplinary hearing and then prove his innocence. But Mjiako, he resigned. because he knew that there was a strong case against him. Remember that. So some people have actually alleged that Mchiyako was pretending to be helping Danzi so that he can get the confession on behalf of the state. So they are, in actual fact, they are saying that Mchiyako was working against Danzi. To me, I believe them. Then, in return, Mchiyako was not going to face any investigation by the police since he had repaid his debt by getting a confession from Danzi. That is an allegation that is made by people, and we can connect the dots. But Mchiyako, for me, is very dodgy. His involvement in this Sezumera case is very shady. The main question for me is who introduced Mchiyako to Danzi? Who introduced Mchiyako to Danzi? That is a question that was never answered in court. Remember, the state has to prove, not the other way around. The defense does not have to prove anything. They only have to create a reasonable doubt for Judge Arata. That's it. Simple. And during the court proceedings, the defense insisted that Danzi refused to have Mchiyako represent him in the first court appearance as a lawyer because Mchiyako wanted him to confess in the killing of Senzomenyo. So in the first court appearance, there is a video which was taken by NCA. Danzi clearly called Mchiyako and said, "Angifuni ndoda uthi ngimele," which means I do not want this man to represent me. So Danzi did not want Mchiyako as his lawyer in the first appearance because he did not appoint him. This is a fact. So Mchiyako wanted Danzi to confess even before reading the other docket, which is docket 375. That was very strange. What type of a lawyer asks a client to confess after they've just met for one day? Because on the state version, Mchiyako met Ntanzi on the 23rd, but Ntanzi denies that. But let's say the state is right for argument's sake. You meet on the 23rd of June, then the following day you ask Ntanzi to plead guilty. When did you have time to read the docket? When did you have time to prepare for this case? So clearly from the beginning, Mchiyako had ulterior motives. That is very clear for me. As I've said, there's a video that was posted by ENCA. In that video, Ntanzi clearly stated that he did not want Mchiyako to represent him. So Mchiyako had no power of authority or power of attorney to act on behalf of Ntanzi. That is a fact. But strangely enough, Judge Fakazile Arata provisionally accepted that confession, even though it's clear that the confession was obtained in an illegal manner. Ntanzi did not confess. Ntanzi did not confess. And then Ntanzi told the court that he first met Mchiyako and was told to assist him on the 24th of June. Ntanzi denied that he ever consulted with Mchiyako at the police station where he was detained on the day of the alleged confession. He stated that he never met Mchiyako on the 23rd of June. That is very important because the state cannot produce any records of where Mchiyako visited Ntanzi in prison. When you visit prison, you sign in and sign out. But in this case, there's no record of that. Why? Because it never happened. So Ntanzi is telling the truth. He never gave the power of attorney to Mchiyako. It's simple. But Judge Fakazile Arata decided otherwise. And you can see that this judge is biased. And the fate of the accused is in his hands. And I suspect that Arata has made up his mind that the 5 accused before court are guilty. So it's just a matter of time before he pronounces that. He's just waiting for the defense to open the case and close his case, and then he'll write his judgment. But in his mind, I think Arata has concluded that Tanzi and the other 4 are guilty of killing Senzomedu, which is very unfair. So whatever the outcome, I'm hoping that they're going to take the case on appeal because Judge Arata was not a fair judge. Finishing clear. He's always helping the state. We are fathers. If they are saying something and it's not quite clear, he tries to enter the conversation to make sure that the words come out clear. So we are fathers. You can't have that judge. And then Tanzi said his family got to know about his arrest on the 13th of July, and they were informed by Jack Butelis. It was on the same day that he managed to get some clothes, to change because he had no toiletries and no clothes from the 16th of June up until the 13th of July. Remember that he was arrested on the 16th of June, so he did not bath from the 16th of June to the 13th of July. Clearly, Ntanzi was denied his right to bath, which is a violation of the Constitution. So this is another form of abuse by the state. But Judge Rata ignored that fact. So this adds up to the fact that Rata is a biased and a useless judge. Mentioned clear. Then Tanzi told the court that he never met Mchiako before the 24th. But Mchiako, being Mchiako, he wanted Tanzi to enter into a plea of guilt for the murder of Senzomedu on the day that they met. What type of a lawyer is that? So Mchiako is clearly dodgy. And then Tanzi went on and told the court that Mchiako approached him with a 3 million deal that was proposed by the police, which means it was proposed by Geninda. So they promised Tanzi to give his family 3 million rand if he confesses and then implicates the 4 other accused. You see? So they were trying by all means to make sure that they get the confession from Tanzi because the state did not have sufficient evidence. It's clear. So the confession was just aimed to implicate all 5 accused because they had no case. So Mchiako's involvement in the Senzomedu case is very suspicious. So you cannot be a former police intelligence, you cannot be from the police intelligence unit representing the accused in the Senzomedu case and not know Geninda. So Geninda and Mchiako, I suspect that they were working together to get the confession because the state had no case. And some people have alleged that Mchiako was sent by Geninda to sabotage Ntanzi. And I somehow believe that because indications are there. Why would Mchiako ask Ntanzi to plead guilty on the first day that they met? Mchiako had not read Docket 375, so he did not have enough facts to know about this case. So Mchiako is very dodgy, and for Ntanzi to say that he does not know him and he did not give him authority, I believe it's saying the truth. So this Mchiako character is very dodgy. Firstly, he was going to be fired from his work because he was allegedly involved in a car hijacking and some gun that was lost. But then again, he becomes a lawyer. How can that be possible? So for me, there's another thing that is worrying. You cannot be charged with a crime and then later on become a lawyer without being cleared. So there's something very wrong about our justice system. So Mchiako managed to become a lawyer even though there was a case pending against him in the SAPS. So for me, Mchiako has no credibility whatsoever. But Judge Fazil Arata has other ideas. But we shall see what happens when the case goes on appeal, because I believe that Arata has found these accused guilty anyway. So I have no faith in Judge Rata. So now my only hope is that once the case is done in this Rata's court, the defense would go for appeal and then have a new judge that will have to look at the case holistically. Then they'll see that there were many things that were done wrong in this case by Rata and Advocate Baloyi. But anyway, thank you for watching. Keep on subscribing. Thank you very much.